remember even where I was, moving around, but someplace. And I was speaking, and nobody could hear, but nobody said anything until after the fact. And I could have corrected it, They didn't want to disturb me, but I was actually more disturbed to find out they couldn't hear it. So let us chant the devotional bhajan Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Radha Kunda Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Hare Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Gita Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gita Hari Bo.
Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo,
Hari Bo. Jai Om Shri Vishnu Padma Mahaprabhu Acharya. Us the terror of His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Iskcon founder Acharya, His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantapuri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Preshiko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Sri Radhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shyama Sundar Radhakrishnan Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Srimati Vrinda Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Ganga Yamuna Saraswati Ki Jai. Shri Nagritam Ki Jai. Shri Mayapurnam Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Nivashala Kshetra Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Srimati Sita Thakurani Ki Jai. Srimati Sita Thakurani Ki Jai. Srimati Sita Thakurani Ki Jai. Gaur Pranandi Hari Hari Bol. Shamadeva Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So today is the appearance day of Sita Thakurani, the eternal consort of Acharya. So just speak a little bit on that topic. And I'll speak something about Srila Prabhupada. Something very, very recently, within the last month, I came upon some letters that are not published in any of our Iskcon journals and publications. And they're all prior to coming to San Francisco, and then a couple from San Francisco, so they're dating back 66, 67. And I was profoundly, that's good. So it's very profound to read these letters because they gave a very intimate glimpse into Srila Prabhupada, the person, the devotee, the future Acharya, the present Acharya at that time, but still the founder Acharya role. Oh my gosh, I just remembered I had some books to bring for all of you. When you take me back, please don't let me forget to do it. I have them sitting out there. Sorry, I thought I brought them all the way from New Vrindavan. I brought them all the way to Chicago. I got them all the way to Sacramento, but I couldn't get them this far. So the next meeting you can pass them out. I just had a few of them. But they're about Srila Prabhupada. You can see it online, Founder Acharya by Ravinda Swarup. And anyway, these letters are then showing sort of the deep, intimate, personal nature of Srila Prabhupada. And then at the same time, with equal, such a practical person and attentive to all detail. Always, thinking very carefully how things will be utilized, how not to waste, how best to utilize, how to maximize utilization. Before the word multitasking was ever conceived of, Srila Prabhupada was multitasking. But his multitasking was unique because there was always that pivotal core value of serving his Guru Maharaj and the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So whatever task, what was at hand, on top of each other, by the side of each other, it was all central to this. This service to the spiritual master and Mahaprabhu was the central core. But just before I had come here today, I read a little note sent out by a devotee in New Vrindavan. He likes to post devotional nectar. But this was very sweet, and I thought I would share it with you. That the question was asked by Parvati to her husband about Sri Vrindavan Dham, because we understand Sri Vrindavan Dham is glorious. But why is it glorious? That was her question. And she asked whether it was due to the sadhus who live there. We know so many saintly persons, so is that the reason? Or is it the land itself, the sacred land of Vrindavan, where the lotus feet of Krishna has gone throughout the dust of... Or was it because of the presence of the Yamuna River? That was her question to her good husband Shiva. And his answer was very enlightening, because he explained that Sri Vrindavan Dham is glorious due to the power of Krishna's holy name, due to the presence and power of Krishna's holy name, and his internal potency. And that this is delivering everyone back home, back to Godhead. So this is from the Mathura Mahatmya. So we can keep this in mind. Sri Vrindavan Dham is glorious because of Krishna's holy name. So then there is some further information, in part from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we keep in mind that one can increase, how to increase one's chanting, or one's attraction for chanting. Sometimes this is, a little obstacle in our devotional life. We have 16 rounds, we have, the holy name is paramount. And we find, we just read this Shastastikam, I'm so unfortunate, I have no attraction for your holy names. We have this, dilemma. So, one can increase how to increase that chanting. And it's explained by realize the connection between Dhamma, or the worldly village, and between Dhamma, the spiritual realm. In other words, between the matter, between the spirit. Material life, what does it mean? A place of birth, a place of, your domicile, your home, your family, etc. And then the spiritual world. And then there's the wonderful holy name. Keep that, it's a cough thing in case I start this coughing, which I sometimes have a habit of doing. So, the blissful gems of Krishna's holy name have been deposited in the treasury room of Vrajadam. So when you think like that Krishna's holy names are gemstones, how careful, how precious. Somebody's offering you some cheap Walmart jewelry or some very fine necklace from the finest craftsmen in India with, because India, we have to say, has some very beautiful craft persons. Gold and silver and platinum and diamonds and rubies and pearls and emeralds, sapphires. So, what would we prefer? We would like the real thing. But sometimes we get bewildered by the other thing, So, we want to not become bewildered by the sound of Krishna's name and thinking it is in any way at all mundane, and finding ourselves more attracted to some mundane sound vibration as opposed to the real thing. So how can we do this? How can we extract those real gems? So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he's explaining how to do that. And he's explaining that without realization of the dignity of the Dham, that we will have no attraction for Dham Seva. That means serving the Dham. And by not serving the Dham, we become attracted to Grama, which is the mundane. So then if we start serving by seeking a connection with the Dham, and seeking connection means Dham Seva, then one's attraction to this mundane becomes decreased. He used the word liquefied. And when that's liquefied by serving the Dham, then it frees the person, it frees the conditioned soul from the illusion of being the enjoyer, which is like saying, I am God. Not many of us would actually go around and say, I'm God. We know we're not, and we wouldn't say it. But the activity of trying to assert ourselves into the role or the position of enjoyer is another way of equating ourselves with God. So this is a quandary of the material life because we're getting pushed by in so many directions. And certainly being in Kali Yuga doesn't make it any easier. So by seeking that connection with the Dham through service, serving the holy places, this attraction that we have, the superficial attraction that we're somehow taking as very important, becomes very unimportant. And service of the Dham then is freeing the illusion that I'm God, that I'm the enjoyer. And then service to the Dham then leads one to the service of the holy name, to the attraction of chanting. And then through Srinam Seva, serving the holy name, we just read the 10 offenses, so we know how not to serve the holy name. Through the service of the holy name, then one comes to the ultimate goal of serving the Supreme Lord in pure loving devotional service. So, if one falsely thinks I can just chant and I don't have to render any service to the holy Dham, to the land where all the repository of the holy name has been deposited, then one will not actually connect to the real goal, this loving devotional service to Krishna. And he explains that the Vaikuntha name, the Lord's holy name, has descended to this earth. It's been deposited in the Dham, and it doesn't give the real end, Krishna Seva, until one begins to reconnect or serve the Dham. So, and then he explains, what does that mean? And he says it's a practical service. It's not something ethereal or imaginary. You actually do something. And then he was saying, like, you can sweep, just like you see when you think of it, you see the people in the street there, or they're even cleaning the little gutters on the side of the street. And we're not thinking those people are so important. They're just the Jarwala, the sweeper. But if they're in Vrindavan, in the holy place, what an amazing thing. The so-called lowest person with a broom in their hand is sweeping the dust of the Dham. They are the closest to the Dham than ourselves with all our wonderful knowledge and, so-called connections. So doing this seva, Dham seva, is something that should be done in a practical manner. And it's a form of bhakti known as padasevanam, that to serve practically, to increase namruchi, our attraction for chanting. So then, the sweeping, Seva Kunj, Vamsibat, the banks of Radha Kund, or the Prikrama Mard, we can go around. Then when I was reading this, I remembered one year that a couple buses of Iskcon devotees, led by Dinabandhu Prabhu, I'm sure everybody in this room knows Dinabandhu Prabhu, so he took us to Varshana, and he gave us all great big burlap bags and a stick with a little nail on the end of it. And we just started going in a massive party. We made 2 parties, but going all around. So chanting kirtan, but instead of redundant kartals, we had a stick with a nail, and we were picking up trash to fill our bags. And after a while we realized it was really hot, and we kept chanting, picking up, and we realized that it was even hotter. We kept chanting, and our bags were getting fuller, and I realized we were actually starting to feel very blissful. And at one point, we somehow made this circle, and we kind of come back to a place where we had already passed through.